Um, so I'm going to take these examples plus where I started before and do what I think, what you might want to think of as a social justice crosswalk. Why do I refer to it as that? Because, you could sort of take this whole idea of being user-centered or, disciplined inquiry and say, well, I get that, but how do I understand that in the context of a problem of social justice? So if you attend to the right problem, for example, being user-centered, you may devote your effort to a problem that really has traction. We call these high leverage problems. So that really helps you pay attention to access and to outcome, for example. Local voice, you can't be user-centered unless you respect local knowledge. When you pay attention to variation, you're looking to see who is successful in various different places and trying to learn from that. And one of the things that we've argued in our work is that when you pay attention to variation, you develop an insight into what are the main things that seem to give you traction. We call these standard work. And once you've established standard work protocols, you can then understand how it needs to vary place to place. But measurement. Oftentimes, those of us who care about issues of social justice do not own the problems of measurement. And it is absolutely clear to us that if you care about justice and equity, you have to own measurement. Because if you do it in the way that we suggest, you get clarity on process, and you have conceptual clarity. And one of the things that the New Visions folks said to me when I was talking with them, when they do their strategic data check-ins, people see local day-to-day experience in the numbers. The numbers then get translated into actions that they see on the ground with individual students. I want to go quickly to give an example of how you do this discipline inquiry and you have developed common voice. So we're doing work with a school in Los Angeles where they're worrying about the problem of how to help students in the disciplines develop reference to text. When I say reference to text, do you know what that means? It's the skill that when you're reading complex text in science or social studies, questions, especially in the new Common Core assessment regimens, want to see you answer the questions by referring to the text. And in the school we were working with in Los Angeles, students did very poorly on reference to text. They weren't able to take things from the text and make it part of their answers. So they set a concrete goal that they wanted to have 70% of students score level 2 or better on this CREST Common Core assessment. Quickly, what they did were more than 40 PDSA cycles, Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles, around routines to sharpen how they help students do reference to text in their classroom instruction. These got organized in several ways, where you started with just one teacher and you had a routine, for example, that we co-wrote with them. And by the third wave, it was an entirely different routine that teachers made themselves. This picture, if you can, I'm not sure how well you see it in the back, here in the center is a group of teachers who are talking about their PDSA work, and arrayed around them is the rest of the faculty, listening to them report on their data and how they did the routines that they did on the problems they worked on. And what's key here is that everyone in the school is engaged in work like that, all focused on this one common problem of literacy. So you can see how a form of discipline inquiry allows you to produce public results that an entire faculty can share. And in doing so, the faculty develops a common language to talk about the problems that their students are facing. So the argument I've been trying to make to you is that social justice, at least in part, lives in the crosswalk of systematic approaches and the details of practice, the responses to context, to real identified needs, and to broaden voice to include those who should participate in decision making. When you wrap all that up together, at least we come to the conclusion that it's really possible to engineer a kind of equity. And when that happens, many more people, individuals, benefit from the work of an intervention or an innovation. And that diversity supports reliability. When more and more people have voice in building the intervention, it kind of gets a robust quality about it. It starts to be a lot less breakable. So diversity supports reliability. And if you take nothing else away from our time together in this talk, is that I'd like you to noodle on the proposition that the work on social justice, a lot happens in the details of practice. Thank you. That's it.